Well, so we talked a little bit about my time at Vice News. Let's go even earlier in my media career, back when I was the opinion editor for the Minnesota State University of Moorhead Advocate.
Was it what's the
It was a weekly.
mascot there?
Oh,
What?
we were the Dragons.
Oh, the
Um,
dragons, the dragons.
yeah, and I was opinion editor for a couple of years. And so I pretty much had a column in most. It was only weekly, so it wasn't like it was pretty much easy to be in every time. And people will. I'll just share first the cartoon here, because people will recognize the artist of this cartoon here, Grant
Oh,
Ertl, who did the album art for Left Reckoning, says, and then I don't know, it's a guy building, and then Marx with a sickle behind him, and the guy just says, "I don't know, Marx, are you sure?" He really said, "There's nothing wrong with a hard hat and a hammer and a sickle." And the song "God Bless the Working Man" is playing, and Marx is trying to hand him a
I
sickle.
love this so much. February 3rd, 2011. For those listening,
Yeah. So let's zoom in a little bit on here first. And you can try emailing that email. It hasn't been. It's out of commission. Here we go. I nearly like a country music song. That isn't something I admit to lightly, even after the qualify. Even after qual. Damn, way overly. I already hate this already, but even
no man, it's good. It really is. I like this piece. It's a fun one.
that isn't something I admit to lightly, even after the qualifying it, yeah, typo with the word nearly. The song is Alan Jackson's "Hard Hat and a Hammer," which honestly, now that I say it out loud, nothing wrong with a hard hat and a hammer. The chorus ends with the line, "God bless the working man." Conservative politics and country music go together as well as any cliched coupling you could care to mention.
Mm.
Most of the themes they use, patriotism, the family, the church, and the old days, are in agreement. There's one where it gets a little sticky, though, and that is class consciousness. To be sure, this isn't something conservative politicians would be willing to concede. Republican Senator Scott Brown from Massachusetts used his pickup truck to make this very point during his late 2009 campaign. And nearly this, and clearly, this sort of Republican courting of the country music listening working man has been successful historically. Yet I can't help but
Mm.
think that. Do you have any thoughts so far?
All I'm thinking about is the time period that you're writing it in, and it's a very dark time, um, both politically but also in country music. It's after Hank Williams Jr. did some kind of like personal self-flagellation that is it's almost Christ-like in like what he sacrificed. But it's so terrible. Is he one of my personal favorite songs um, of his is a song called Family Tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically about being a drunk and liking to smoke weed and doing all this kind of fun stuff. And whenever anyone tries to ask him, what his deal is, he says, well, it's a family tradition. Well, he turned that song and changed the lyrics of that song. And this is in 2008 in the run against Obama into
Mm.
just one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life called a McCain Palin Tradition. And for me, it's one of the, it's like, it's a soul crushing. And like, by the way, Hank Williams Jr. is not like Waylon Jennings or Willie Nelson, who like had like good personal politics. It was like, he always was a real kind of cowardly conservative, in my opinion. But anyways, what he did to himself was just so horrible. And that's
Oof.
all I'm trying to think is like, this is in that same kind of era of like really dark kind of merging of like right wing Tea Party conservative politics with country music.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we should maybe go to Alan Jackson's new song. Have you heard it?
No,
It's very pessimistic. We'll get to that a little bit later.
you
Maybe.
keep going. I'm listening. I might just pull up a couple lyrics from the McCain Palin tradition.
Cool, yeah.
Uh,
I continue 10 years ago. Yet I can't help but think that GOP leaders get slightly nervous when they hear, misspelled here, Alan Jackson's song, "God Bless the Working Man," is pretty close to "Workers of the World Unite." Even scarier for the Joseph McCarthy's party. There's typos all the fuck over this. Even scarier for Joseph McCarthy's party is the one piece of equipment difference between hard hat and a hammer and a hammer and sickle. It's just dumb. All Jackson's song is missing is a call to action. If he suggested that after the working men received their blessing from the Almighty, and maybe they should agree to look after each other's backs, to look out for their fellow working man, to group up, to join hands, to make a team, to combine efforts, to help each other out, to unionize, if you will. In 2007, the bottom 50%. I can kind of just skip over these statistics about.
The stats are good though. I mean, the political consciousness is happening there, folks. You can see it.
It is funny. Like I mentioned this in the first half, but this is probably the first time that my reading Marx influenced something I wrote. Oh yeah, let's include this here. Because I hint at it. In 2007, the bottom 50% of the United States, that is, half the people in it, had 2.5% of the wealth. It doesn't take a Marxist to see there's a problem. From 1990 to 2005, the pay for production workers grew 4.3%. During that same time, corporate profits grew 106.7%, while the pay of CEOs grew 298.2%. These figures come from Business Insider. Clearly, the rich are overtaxed. That is why President Obama planned to save each millionaire about $6,000 last year with his tax plan. You're probably thinking, what I am? $6,000? I don't get out of bed for that much. Republicans thought so too, so they blocked all legislation until Obama extended Bush's tax cuts, which saved each millionaire $103,000 and added $36 billion to the deficit they keep going on about. You won't see any millionaires in Alan Jackson's music video, except, well, Alan Jackson.
That's a good one.
Thank you. You see working class Americans, and though I don't enjoy the music, I like everything else about it. I would like it more if by playing the song backwards, I could hear Alan Jackson saying, "Unions, the people who brought you weekends, but nevertheless." And then I say this, which is not true. Oscar Wilde is supposed to have said, at least I say supposed to have said, because he didn't actually say this. The trouble with socialism is that it takes up too many evenings. He's probably right, but I would imagine the thing about being unemployed is that your schedule is pretty damn open.
Dude, I love it. I mean, this was the political opening too. I mean, people were really struggling then, and unemployment was up. I mean, that's a finger on the pulse moment, Matt. I gotta say, 2 thumbs up, A+ for me.
Yeah, there's a few other calls where I maybe we'll get into these essays more. There's one where I do a paean to the founding fathers as great men, which, but I do appreciate that one as for like, there's a moment when I saw an atheist on local news.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like 7 or 8, and I remember feeling a very hostile reaction to him. And then like 3 or 4 years later, I think I was still in my fucking mind, and I'm like, yeah, actually that guy was pretty much right about that stuff. That when I put like what it doesn't take a Marxist to see there is a problem. Like looking back on that now and like where I would be, 5 years later. Yeah, it was interesting to me. My friend Rachel, who's in Arizona, sent me that, and trip down memory lane.
No, I mean, that's so awesome. And I mean, the developments that we have are funny. I mean, I was just laughing because I think I sent this to you maybe a few weeks ago, and I'm not going to bring it up for people to see, but I had made a Facebook post around this time, like 2011. I think I sent it to you, Matt, where I said something, and I was like, at this point, the Republican Party has proven that they have like no interests other than to just like line the pockets of millionaires with more and more money, and they've ceased to be a viable alternative. Right? Which is just like, it's so funny to read that now and just be like, yeah, well, of course, but those kind of developments, they happen quick.
Yeah.
I was somebody who, I grew up really working class, and I sort of bought into the ideology for a little while, though. It's like all the people who I knew who were Republicans were rich, so maybe they were onto something, right? And there was some, you know what I mean? Like there's something there. But as I got a little bit older and a little bit more well-read, I realized it was just rhetoric, and all of the kind of focus on hard work had nothing to do with those people's lives, because all the people doing the hard work were the people working underneath them. So those kind of things, they snap together really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of I remember getting in big Facebook fight in like 2006, 2007 with somebody about just, it was the sort of argument like the GOP is my side. I was arguing like the GOP is so behind the times, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I remember saying like, you're the Whig Party. I didn't know what all I knew about the Whig Party was like they fucking weren't a party anymore, right? And then you actually go back and look at history, like the Whig Party, the party that like basically for state development but like completely controlled by the aristocrats, is the Democratic Party. Like they are the ones that are at risk of becoming the Whig Party, if anything. Yeah.
No, I mean it's 100%. I don't know. I got this for us here. There's a couple lines from this Hank Williams Jr. remix of his song because it's just so. I mean, where to even start? I'm just gonna jump in the middle of it. Now this old union's got problems. That is plain to see. The Democrats bankrupted Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, just like 123. The bankers did bad, Ron. The bankers didn't want to make all those bad loans, but Bill Clinton said you got to. Now they want to bail out. What I'm talking about is a Democrat liberal who do to me and to you. I don't even know what that means. I'm very proud of our country's name, but no society is perfect, and we have had our stains. If I'm down at the coffee shop and somebody's about to give our flag friction, we say, please move on. We are standing strong. That's a John McCain tradition. And boy, oh boy, I love like the coffee shop in this kind of conservatives mind. It's such a funny place, ain't it? It's like this is just like every coffee shop is just filled with just like anti-American terrorists just waiting to like jump at you. And it's like, no, they're wondering why you're staring at them the whole time. You're like trying to order your black coffee and making a big deal about how you only want your coffee black. Like, I don't know. I've worked in coffee shops before, and while people do like cappuccinos and lattes, the vast majority of people in this country still just get a black coffee or coffee with cream. And the way conservatives like look, I'm not trying to shill for Starbucks or anything like that, but like it's like y'all know the program at this point. This is like going to McDonald's and like being surprised by by the menu or like what they have available to you. Like what the game is at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. The place it occupies in people's brain is very funny to me. Republicans' brains.
Which is like, I remember working in a coffee shop, Caribou Coffee, in Fargo, and like you would see guys in like duck hunting gear come in and order the like frou-frouiest fucking sugar milkshake drink of all time. Like the idea that this cultural signifier says anything about somebody's politics is very funny. I mistook Alan Jackson for Toby Keith, which I shouldn't have done. The two different guys.
I was wondering if I misremembered.
Yeah, no, that was
well, Toby Keith is a real idiot.
Right.
At least like Alan Jackson has got some good jams. But I'll tell you one thing though, in all seriousness about country music and this kind of thing, there's no doubt about it in my mind that growing up listening to so much country music and growing up the way that I did, like I always had like a strong affinity for the working class, and it's funny because it's almost like a ready-made. I've always felt a ready-made kind of beginning class consciousness, right? It's a lot like the way the country music, especially pop country the past 20 years, is definitely not like developing a good class consciousness, but it's like a way of thinking yourself and delineating yourself from people who have money and people who have to work for a living, right? I mean, that's like half of the songs. So it's like a ready-made thing. It's like, okay, well, let's just dispel this insane kind of right-wing, blood and soil nationalist nonsense that gets pushed to y'all. And then you already sort of have a vocabulary or a way of thinking about it that I do think is there and is worthwhile building off of. I always thought there's an Alabama song. What is it? It's down the line by Alabama. All right, is that what it is? Send It On Down the Line.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought that Bernie Sanders should have walked out to in every single rally. Just because it's a great the song is actually called 40 Hours a Week, working for a living, and basically the whole song is just like hello Detroit auto workers, let me thank you for your time. Hello Kansas wheat field farmers, let me thank you for your time.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
it goes through all the different cities and industries in the country. He says you work 40-hour week for a living, just send it on down the line, and basically making the point that like this is the only reason that this stuff runs. It's a very popular song. It's catchy, and I don't know, like people like it and people recognize it, and it's something that like you don't have to. Because when I talk about sometimes about things like class consciousness, those kind of terms seem foreign. They seem foreign even to me because we don't use that kind of terminology or way of thinking. But what I mean by that is like really recognizing everyone else as like your brother and sister and your and your friend and fellow countrymen, in the sense of like being a member of this global nation, which is the working class, right? And I don't know, like there's a lot of cultural groundwork there that you could sort of lean into.